I'm at a crossroads. The Tale of Gilgamesh. The Red Pyramid. I don't know which one I want to read tonight. I got this book back from work today, so it makes me want to read it. It's a lot shorter than the Red Pyramid. I bet you I could finish the Tale of Gilgamesh right now. But I'm not gonna lie, although Carter is quite an unlikable character, I am rooting for his death. Sadie seems like the main character, though she can get a little annoying with all her bantering. I'm like 1/3 of the book done. So, I might as well do Gilgamesh. But I'm not gonna lie, the action here is kind of fun. So, I'm in the middle of a chapter. Technically, on both books, I'm in the middle of a chapter. But I think I'm gonna read the Red Pyramid instead right now. So, we're just gonna pick up where I left off. Chapter 18, when fruit bats go bad. I don't know if you... So, there's spoilers. Bast, the cat goddess, Bast, she's not dead, actually. We never saw her die, so, there's no off, there was no off, there was no off-screen kill. If you don't see the character die in the book, then they probably didn't die. So, yeah, we're gonna read the Red Pyramid. But the way he popped up, Bass, was pretty cool. Wait, what's that? I'll be back. What is that? I was cleaning something. So yeah. Alright, let's do this, boys. We're gonna be reading Rick Riordan's The Kane Chronicles, book number 1, The Red Pyramid. I got pretty far. Today should be day 4 of reading it. I guess I'm a slow reader. Let's see where I was. The amulet, okay. Alright, let's go backwards. Sadie answers, sounding as if in a trance. Godlings, that's what we are, aren't we? That's why Zio was so frightened of us. Why Jardins wants to kill us. Bass patted Sadie's knee. You always were bright, dear. Hold on, I said. You mean hosts for gods? That's not possible. I think I know. Oh. I already read that. Carter, Sadie said. When the Rosetta Stone shattered, it let out 5 gods, right? Did Dad join with Osiris? Amos told us that. Said, I don't know. He got away somehow, but you and I, the amulets protected us. I clutched the Eye of Horus around my neck. Dad said they would. If we had stayed out of the room as Dad told us, Sadie recalled, but we were there watching. We wanted to help him. We practically asked for power, Carter. Bass nodded. Oh, wow, really? That makes all the difference. An invitation. And since then, Sadie looked at me tentatively, almost daring to make fun of her. I've had this feeling, like a voice inside me. But now, the cold rain had soaked right through my clothes. If Sadie hadn't said something, maybe I could have denied what was happening a little longer. But I thought about what Amos had said about our family having a long history with the gods. I thought about what Zia had told us about our lineage. The gods chose their hosts carefully. They always preferred the blood of the pharaohs. Okay, I admitted. I've been hearing a voice too. So either we're both going crazy. The amulet. Sadie pulled it from her shirt collar and held it for Bass to see. It's the symbol of a goddess, isn't it? I hadn't seen her amulet in a long time. It was different from mine. It reminded me of an ankh, or maybe some kind of fancy tie. This is a taiyet, Bass said. A magic knot. And yes, it is often called the knot of Isis, Sadie said. I didn't see how she could know that, but she looked up absolutely certain. In the Hall of Ages, I saw an image of Isis, and then I was Isis, trying to get away from Set, and... oh God, that's it, isn't it? I'm her. She grabbed her shirt like she physically wanted to pull the goddess away from her. All I could do was stare. My sister was with her ratty red highlighted hair and her linen pajamas and her combat boots. How could she possibly worry about being possessed by a goddess? What goddess would want her, except maybe the goddess of chewing gum? But then, I'd been hearing a voice inside me too. A voice that was definitely not mine. I looked at my amulet, the Eye of Horus. I thought about the myths. I knew how Horus, the son of Osiris, had to avenge his father by defeating Set. And at Luxor, I'd summoned an avatar with the head of a falcon. I was afraid to try it, but I thought, Horus? Well, it's about time, the other voice said. Hello, Carter. Oh no, I said, panic rising in my chest. No, somebody get a can opener. I've got a god stuck in my head. Bat's eyes lit up. You communicated with Horus directly? That's excellent progress. Progress? I banged my palms against my head. Get him out! Calm down, Horus said. Don't tell me to calm down. Bass frowned. I didn't. Talking to him, I pointed at my forehead. This is awful, Sadie wailed. How do I get rid of her? Bass sniffed. First off, Sadie, you don't have all of her. Gods are very powerful. We can exist in many places at once, but yet, part of Isis's spirit now resides in you, just as Carter now carries the spirit of Horus. And frankly, you both should feel honored. Right. Very honored, I said. Always wanted to be possessed. Bass rolled her eyes. Please, Carter, it's not possession. Besides, you and Horus want the same thing, to defeat Set, just as Horus did millennia ago. And when Set first killed Osiris. If you don't, your father is doomed and Set will become king of the earth. I glanced at Sadie, but she was no help. She ripped the amulet off her neck and threw it down. Isis got in through the amulet, didn't she? Well, I really wouldn't do that, Bass warned. But Sadie pulled out her wand and smashed the amulet. Oh shit. Blue sparks shot up from the ivory boomerang. Sadie yelped and dropped her wand, which was now smoking. Her hand was covered in black scorch marks. The amulet was fine. Ow, she said. Bass sighed. She put her hand on Sadie's and the burn marks faded. I did tell you. Isis channeled her power through the amulet, yes, but she's not there now. She's in you. And even so, magical amulets are practically indestructible. So what are we supposed to do, Sadie said. Well, for starters, Bass said, Carter must use the power of Horus to defeat Set. Oh, is that all? I said. All by myself. No, Sadie can help. Oh, super. I'll guide you as much as possible, Bass promised. But in the end, the two of you must fight. Only Horus and Isis can defeat Set and avenge the death of Osiris. That's the way it was before. That's the way it must be now. Then we get our dad back, I asked. Bass' smile wavered. If all goes well. She wasn't telling us everything. No surprise. But my brain was too fuzzy to figure out what I was missing. I looked down at my hands. They didn't seem any different, no stronger, no godlier. I've got the powers of a god, then why am I... If I've got the powers of a god, then why am I so... Lame, Sadie offered. Shut up, I said. Why can't I use my powers better? It takes practice, Bass said. Unless you wish to give over control to Horus, then he would use your form and you would not have to worry. I could... A voice said inside me, let me fight Set. You can trust me. Yeah, right, I told him. How can I be sure you wouldn't get me killed and just move on to some other host? How can I be sure you're not influencing my thoughts right now? I would not do that, the voice said. I chose you because of your potential, Carter, and because we have the same goal. Upon my honor, if you let me control... No, I said. I realized I spoke aloud. Sadie and Bass were both looking at me. I'm not giving up control, I said. This is our fight. Our dad's locked in a coffin. Our uncle's been captured. Captured? Sadie asked. I realized with a shock that I hadn't told her about my last little bar trip. There just hadn't been time. When I gave her the details, she looked stricken. God, no. Yeah, I agreed. And Seth spoke in French. Bonsoir. Sadie, what you said about Seth getting away, maybe he didn't, if he was looking for a powerful host. Desjardins. Oh shit, Sadie finished. Bass growled deep in the throat. Desjardins was in London the night of your father broke the Rosetta Stone, wasn't he? Desjardins hasn't been full of anger, full of ambition. In many ways, he would be the perfect host for Seth. If Seth managed to possess Desjardins' body, that would mean the Red Lord now controls the man who is chief lector of the house. By Ra's throne, Carter. I hope you're wrong. The two of you will have to learn to use the power of the gods quickly. Whatever Seth is planning, he'll do it on his birthday, when he's strongest. When the fuck is his birthday? That's the third demon day. 3 days from now. Okay. But I've already used Isis's power, haven't I? Sadie asked. I've summoned hieroglyphs. I activated the obelisk at Luxor. Was that her or me? Both, dear, Bass said. You and Carter have great abilities on your own, but the power of the gods has hastened your development and given you an extra reservoir to draw on. What would have taken you years to learn, you've accomplished in days. The more you channel the power of the gods, the more powerful you will become. And the more dangerous it gets, I guess. The magicians told us hosting the gods can burn you out, kill you, drive you crazy. Bass fixed her eyes on me. Just for a second, they were the eyes of a predator. Ancient, powerful, dangerous. Not everyone can host a god, Carter. That's true. But you two are both blood of the pharaohs. You combine two ancient bloodlines. That's very rare, very powerful. And besides, if you think you can survive without the power of the gods, think again. Don't repeat your mother's. She stopped herself. What? Sadie demanded. What about our mother? I shouldn't have said this. Tell us, cat, Sadie said. I was afraid Bass might unsheath her knives. Instead, she leaned against the wall and stared out at the rain. When your parents released me from Cleopatra's Needle, there was much more energy than they expected. Your father spoke the actual summoning spell and the blast would have killed him instantly, but your mother threw up a shield. In that split second, I offered her my help. I offered to merge her spirits and help protect them, but she would not accept my help. She chose to tap her own reservoir. Her own magic, Sadie murmured. Bass nodded sadly. When a magician commits herself to a spell, there is no turning back. If she overreaches her power, well, your mother used her last bit of energy protecting your father to save him. She sacrificed herself. She literally burned up, I said. That's what Zia warned us about. Damn. The rain kept pouring down. I realized I was shivering. Sadie wiped a tear from her cheeks. She picked up her amulet and glanced at it resentfully. We've got to save Dad, if he's really got the spirit of Osiris. She didn't finish, but I knew what she was thinking. I thought about Mom when I was little, her arm around my shoulders as we stood at the back deck of our house in LA. She pointed out, these are my favorite parts. She pointed out the stars to me. Polaris, Orion's belt, Sirius. Then she'd smile at me, and I'd feel like I was more important than any constellation in the sky. Aww. My mom has sacrificed herself to save Dad's life. She used so much magic, she literally burned up. How could I ever be that brave? Oh, that made me want to cry. Yes, you can, Carter! Damn it, you're such a shitty character. Yet I had to save Dad. Otherwise, I feel like Mom's sacrifice had been for nothing. And maybe if we could rescue Dad, he could set things right, even bring our mom back. Is that possible? I asked Horace, but the voice was silent. Alright, I decided. So how do we stop Set? Bess thought for a moment, then smiled. Bast. I got the feeling that whatever she was about to suggest I wasn't going to like it. There might be a way without completely giving yourself over to the gods. There's a book by Thoth, one of the rare spell books written by the god of wisdom himself. The one I'm thinking of details a way to overcome Set. It is the prized possession of a certain magician. All we need to do is sneak into his fortress, steal it, and leave before sunset, while we can still create a portal to the US. Perfect, Sadie said. Hold up, I said. What magician? And where's the fortress? Bass stared at me as if I were a bit slow. Why, I think we already discussed him. Desjardins. His house is right here in Paris. Once I saw Desjardins' house, I hated him even more. It was a huge mansion on the other side of the Tuileries, on the Rue des Pyramides. Pyramids Road? Sadie said. Obvious much. Maybe he couldn't find a place on stupid evil Magician Street, I suggested. Couldn't find a place on stupid evil Magician Street, I suggested. The house was spectacular. The spikes atop its wrought iron fence were gilded. Even in the winter rain, the front garden was bursting with flowers. 5 stories of white marble walls and black shuttered windows loomed before us, the whole thing topped off by a roof garden. I'd seen royal palaces smaller than this place. I pointed to the front door, which was painted bright red. Isn't red a bad color in Egypt? The color is Set? Bast, scratched her chin. Now that you mention it, yes, it's the color of chaos and destruction. I thought black was the evil color, Sadie said. No, dear. As usual, modern folk have it backward. Black is the color of good soil, like the soil of the Nile. You can grow food in black soil. Food is good. Therefore, black is good. Red is the color of desert sand. Nothing grows in the desert. Therefore, red is evil. She frowned. It is strange that this Jordan's has a red door. Well, I'm excited, Sadie grumbled. Let's go knock. There will be guards, Bass said, and traps, and alarms. You can bet the house is heavily charmed to keep out gods. Magicians can do that, I asked. I imagined a big can of pesticide labeled God away. Alas, yes, Bass said. I will not be able to cross this threshold uninvited. You, however. I thought we're gods too, Sadie said. That's the beauty of this, Bass said. As hosts, you are still quite human. I have taken full possession of Muffin, so I am pretty much me, a goddess. But you are still, well, yourselves. Clear? No, I said. I suggest you turn into birds, Bass said. You can fly to the roof garden and make your way in. Plus, I like birds. First problem, I said. We don't know how to turn into birds. Easily fixed. A good test at channeling godly power. Both Isis and Horus have bird forms. Simply imagine yourselves as birds, and birds you shall become. Just like that, Sadie said. You won't pounce on us? Bass looked offended. Perish the thought. I wish she hadn't used the word perish. Okay, I said. Here goes. I thought, you in there, Horus? What? He said testily. Bird form, please? Oh, I see. You don't trust me. But now you need my help. Man, come on. Just do the falcon thing. Would you settle for an emu? I decided talking wasn't going to help. So I closed my eyes and imagined I was a falcon. Right away, my skin began to burn. I had trouble breathing. I opened my eyes and gasped. I was really, really short. Eye level with Bass's shins. I was covered in feathers and my feet had turned into wicked claws, kind of like my ball form. But this was real flesh and blood. My clothes and bag were gone, as if they'd melted into my feathers. My eyesight had completely changed too. I could see 180 degrees around, and the detail was incredible. Every leaf on every tree popped out. I spotted a cockroach 100 yards away, scurrying into a sewer drain. That's pretty good writing. I could see every pore on Bass's face, now looming above me and grinning. Better late than never, she said. Took you almost 10 minutes. Huh? The change had seemed instantaneous. Then I looked next to me and saw a beautiful gray bird of prey. A little bit smaller than me, the black-tipped wings and golden eyes. I'm not sure how, but I knew it was a kite. Like the bird kite, not the kind with the string. The kite let out a chirping sound. Ha! 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 Sadie was laughing at me. I opened my own beak, but no sound came out. Oh, you two look delicious, Bass said, licking her lips. No, I mean wonderful. Now, off you go. I spread my majestic wings, and I really had done it. I was a noble falcon, lord of the sky. I launched myself off the sidewalk and flew straight into the fence. Ha, 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 Sadie chirped behind me. Bast crouched and began making weird chittering noises. Uh-oh, she was imitating birds. I seen enough cats do this when they were stalking. Suddenly, my own obituary flashed in my head. Carter Kane, 14, died tragically in Paris when he was eaten by his sister's cat, Muffin. I spread my wings, kicked off my feet, and with 3 strong flaps, I was soaring through the rain. Sadie was right behind me. Together we spiraled up into the air. I have to admit, it felt amazing. Ever since I was a little kid, I'd had dreams which I was flying, and I always hated waking up. Now it wasn't a dream or even a bad trip. It was 100% real. I smiled at the cold air currents above the rooftops of Paris. I could see the river, the Louvre Museum, the gardens and palaces, and a mouse. Yum. Hang on, Carter, I thought. Not hunting mice. I zeroed in on Desjardins' mansion, tucked in my wings, and shot downward. I saw the rooftop garden, the double glass doors leading inside, and the voice inside me said, "Don't stop, it's an illusion. You've got to punch through their magic barriers." It was a crazy thought. I was plummeting so fast I would smack against the glass and become a feathery pancake, but I didn't slow down. I rammed straight into the doors and sailed through them as if they didn't exist. Damn! Woo! That's pretty good. This is the best chapter! 227 pages? Man, this is my favorite chapter. That is good. The Susanos? The big spirit monster? I'm not digging it. I mean, it's cool, right? But whatever. Naruto did it better. But it'd be so dope if they could turn into multiple animals. My brother's texting in the chat. I was reading it, but this is the best chapter. I love the transformation scene. I love the flying scene. The imagery feels real. I feel like I'm flying with them, you know? This is the best chapter of the book so far. And there's no action. Very impressive. I really like it. Let's continue. Oh man, it's still a 3 out of 5 book. Let's see, where was I? I didn't slow down. I rammed straight into the doors, and then he went through it. I spread my wings and landed on a table. Sadie sailed in right behind me. We were alone in the middle of a library. So far, so good. I closed my eyes and thought about returning to my normal form. When I opened my eyes again, I was regular old Carter, sitting on a table in my regular clothes, my work back on my shoulder. Sadie was still a kite. "You can turn back now," I told her. She tilted her head and regarded me quizzically. She let out a frustrated croak. I cracked a smile. "You can't, can you? You're stuck?" She pecked at my hand with her extremely sharp beak. "Ow," I complained. "It's not my fault. Keep trying." She closed her eyes and ruffled her feathers until she looked like she was going to explode. But she stayed a kite. "Don't worry," I said, trying to keep a straight face. "Bass will help us once we get out of here." "Ha, ha, ha! Just keep watch. I'm going to look around." The room was huge, more like a traditional library than a magician's lair. The furniture was dark mahogany. Every wall was covered with floor-to-ceiling bookcases. Books overflowed onto the floor. Some were stacked on tables or stuffed into smaller shelves. A big easy chair by the window looked like the kind of place Sherlock Holmes would sit smoking a pipe. Every step I took, the floorboards creaked, which made me wince. I couldn't hear anyone else in the house, but I didn't want to take any chances. Aside from the glass doors to the rooftop, the only other exit was a solid wooden door that locked from the inside. I turned the deadbolt. Then I wedged the chair up under the handle. I doubted that would keep magicians out for very long, but it might buy me a few seconds if things went bad. I searched the bookshelves for what seemed like ages. All different types of books were jammed together. Nothing alphabetized, nothing numbered. Most of the titles weren't in English. None were in hieroglyphs. I was hoping for something with big gold lettering that said the Book of Thoth, but no such luck. What would a Book of Thoth even look like, I wondered. Sadie turned her head and glared at me. I was pretty sure she was telling me to hurry up. Why are we here? We're trying to steal something. What are we trying to steal again? Let me go back and figure that out. Oh, they're looking for the Book of Thoth. It's like a magic spell book, maybe? Alright. I was pretty sure she was telling me to hurry up. I wish there was Shopti to fetch things like the ones in Amos's library, but I didn't see any. Or maybe. I slung Dad's bag off my shoulder. I set his magic box on the table and slid open the top. The little wax figure was still there, right where I left him. I picked him up and said, "Doughboy, help me and find the Book of Thoth in this library." His waxy eyes opened immediately. "And why should I help you?" "Because you have no choice." I hate that argument. "Fine, hold me up. I can't see the shelves." I walked him around the room, showing him the books. I felt pretty stupid giving the wax doll a tour, but probably not as stupid as Sadie felt. She was still in bird form, scuttling back and forth on the table and snapping her beak in frustration as she tried to change back. "Hold it," Doughboy announced. "This one is ancient. Right here." I pulled down a thin volume bound in linen. It was so tiny I would have missed it, but sure enough the front cover was inscribed in hieroglyphics. I brought it over to the table and carefully opened it. It was more like a map than a book, unfolding into 4 parts until I was looking at a wide, long papyrus scroll with writing so old I could barely make out the characters. I glanced at Sadie. "I bet you could read this to me if you weren't a bird." She tried to peck at me again, but I moved my hand. "Doughboy," I said, "what is this scroll?" "A spell lost in time," he pronounced. "Ancient words of tremendous power." "Well," I demanded, "does it tell how to defeat Set?" "Better. The title reads, The Book of Summoning Fruit Bats." I stared at him. "Are you serious?" "Would I joke about such a thing? Who would want to summon fruit bats?" "Ah, ah, ah," Sadie croaked. I pushed the scroll away and we went back to searching. After about 10 minutes, Doughboy squealed with delight. "Oh, look, I remember this painting." It was a small oil portrait in gilded frame, hanging on the end of a bookshelf. It must have been important because it was bordered by little silk curtains. A light shone upon the portrait's dude's face, so he seemed about to tell a ghost story. "Isn't that a guy who plays Wolverine?" I asked, because he had some serious jowl hair going on. "You disgust me," Doughboy said. "This is Jean-Francois Champollion." Champollion? It took me a second, but I remembered the name. The guy who deciphered hieroglyphics from the Rosetta Stone. Of course, that's Jordan's great uncle. I looked at Champolion's picture again, and I could see the resemblance. They had the same fierce black eyes. Great uncle? But wouldn't that make this Jordan's? "About 200 years old," Doughboy confirmed. "Still a youngster. You know that when Champollion first deciphered hieroglyphics, he fell into a coma for 5 days. He became the first man outside the House of Life to ever unleash their magic, and it almost killed him. Naturally, that got the attention of the first gnome. Champollion died before he could join the House of Life, but the chief lector accepted his descendants for training. This Hardens is very proud of his family, but a little sensitive too, because he's such a newcomer. That's why he didn't get along with our family, I guessed. We're like ancient." Doughboy cackled. "And your father breaking the Rosetta Stone?" Desjardins would have viewed that as an insult to his family honor. "Oh, you should have seen the arguments Master Julius and Desjardins had in this room." "You've been here before?" "Many times. I've been everywhere. I'm all-knowing." I tried to imagine Dad and Desjardins having an argument in here. It wasn't hard. If Desjardins hated our family, and if the gods tended to find hosts who shared the goals, then it made total sense that Set would try to merge with him. Both wanted power, both were resentful and angry, both wanted to smash Sadie and me to a pulp. And if Set was now secretly controlling the chief lector, a drop of sweat trickled down the side of my face. I wanted to get out of this mansion. Suddenly, there was a banging sound below us, like someone closing a door downstairs. Show me where the Book of Thoth is, I ordered Doughboy. Quickly. As we moved down the shelves, Doughboy grew so warm in my hands I was afraid he would melt. He kept running a commentary on the books. Ah, Mastery of the 5 Elements. Is that the one we want, I asked. No, but a good one. How to tame 5 essential elements of the universe. Earth, air, water, fire, and cheese. Cheese. He scratched his wax head. I'm pretty sure that's the 5th. Yes, but moving right along, we turned to the next shelf. No, he announced. No, boring, boring. Oh, Clyde Cussler. No, no. I was about to give up hope, and when he said, there. I froze. Where? Here? The blue book with the gold trim, he said. The one that's... I pulled it out and the entire room began to shake. Trapped. Doughboy continued. Ugh. Sadie squawked urgently. I tracked and saw her take flight. Something small and black swooped down from the ceiling. Sadie clashed with it mid-air, and the black thing disappeared down her throat. What? That's nasty. Before I could even register how gross that was, alarms blurred downstairs. More black forms dropped from the ceiling and seemed to multiply in the air, swirling into a funnel cloud of fur and wings. There's your answer, Doughboy told me. Desjardins would want to summon fruit bats. You mess with the wrong books, you trigger a plague of fruit bats. That's the trap. The things were on me like I was a ripe mango, diving at my face, clawing at my arms. I clutched the book and ran to the table, but I could hardly see. Sadie, get out of here, I yelled. Saw, she cried, which I hope meant yes. I found Dad's work bag and shoved the book and Doughboy inside. The library door rattled. Voices yelled in French. Horace, bird time, I thought desperately. And no emu, please. I ran for the glass doors. At the last second, I found myself flying once again. A falcon, bursting into the cold rain. I knew with the senses of predator that I was being followed by approximately 4,000 angry fruit bats. But falcons are wicked fast. Once outside, I raced north, hoping to draw the bats away from Sadie and Bast. I outdanced the bats easily, but let them keep close enough that they wouldn't give up. Then, with a burst of speed, I turned in a tight circle and shot back towards Sadie and Bast in a 100-mile-an-hour dive. Bast looked up in surprise as I plummeted to the sidewalk, tumbling over myself as I turned back into a human. Sadie caught my arm, and only then did I realize she was back to normal as well. That was awful, she announced. Exit strategy, quick! I pointed at the sky where an angry black cloud of fruit bats was getting closer and closer. The Louvre. Bast grabbed our hands. It's got the closest portal, 3 blocks away. We'd never make it. Then the red door of Desjardins' house blasted open, but we didn't wait to see what came out of it. We ran for our lives down the Rue des Pyramids. I think that's the best chapter. The fruit bats are a little lame. They remind me of in Harry Potter with this when in the second film of Harry Potter, when the kid's taking the photo, who gets petrified later, and Harry is flying with his broomstick, he comes over, and then a bunch of other, Quidditch players come. That's just what that reminds me of. No. It reminds me of movie number 1, when Harry had to get the key. And then inside of the key, there was like hundreds of little key flying things. And he had a broom and he was trying to get one key while the rest of the key things were chasing him. You remember that? I remember that. And that's what that reminds me of. So, except fruit bats. And he's not chasing. He already has the book he wants. That was kind of a long chapter. How long was that? That was like the longest chapter so far. It was like 20 pages. We're on Sadie's perspective, chapter 19. A picnic in the sky. Interesting. Do you think I could finish the book tonight? Let's find out. Right, Carter. Give me the mic. So I've been to the Louvre once before on holiday, but I hadn't been chased by vicious fruit bats. I would have been terrified, except I was too busy being angry with Carter. I couldn't believe the way he treated my bird problem. Honestly, I thought I would be a kite forever, suffocating inside a little feathery prison, and he had the nerve to make fun. I promised myself I'd get revenge, but for the time being, we had enough worries staying alive. Damn, I wouldn't want her trying to get revenge on me, to be honest. She seems pretty diabolical. We raced along the cold rain. It was all I could do to avoid slipping on the slick pavements. I glanced back and saw two figures chasing us. Men with shaved heads and goatees and black raincoats. They might have passed for normal mortals, except they each carried a glowing staff. Not a good sign. The bats were literally at our heels. One nipped my leg, another buzzed my hair. I had to force myself to keep running. My stomach still felt queasy from eating one of the little pests when I was a kite, and no, that had not been my idea. Totally a defensive instinct. Sadie, Bass called as we ran. You'll have only seconds to open the portal. Where is it? I yelled. We dashed across the Rue de Rivoli into a wide plaza surrounded by the wings of the Louvre. Bass made straight for the glass pyramid at the entrance, glowing in the dusk. You can't be serious, I said. That isn't a real pyramid. Of course it's real, said Bass. The shape gives a pyramid its power. It's a ramp to the heavens. The bats were all... Interesting. So if I had a stick and another stick, and I made a triangle as a source of power. The bats were all around us now, biting our arms, flying around our feet. As their numbers increased, it got harder to see or move. Carter reached for his sword, then apparently remembered it wasn't there anymore. He'd lost it at Luxor. He swore and rummaged around in his work bag. Don't slow down, Bass warned. Carter pulled out his wand. In total frustration, he threw it at a bat. I thought this a pointless gesture, but the wand glowed a white hot and thumped the bat solidly on the head, knocking it out of the air. The wand ricocheted through the swarm, thumping 6, 7, 8 of the little monsters before returning to Carter's hand. Not bad, I said. Keep it up. We arrived at the base of the pyramid. The plaza was thankfully empty. The last thing I wanted was my embarrassing death by fruit bats posted on YouTube. 1 minute until sundown, Bass warned. Our last chance for summoning it is now. She unsheathed her knives and started slicing bats out of the air, trying to keep them away from me. Carter's wand flew wildly, knocking fruit bats every which way. I faced the pyramid and tried to think of a portal, the way I'd done at Luxor, but it was almost impossible to concentrate. Where do you wish to go? I said in my mind. God, I don't care. America! I realized I was crying. I hated to, but shock and fear were starting to overwhelm me. Where did I want to go? Home, of course. Back to my flat in London. Back to my own room. My grandparents, my mates at school, and my old life. But I couldn't. I had to think about my father and our mission. We had to get to set. I forgot that she's British. Well, she speaks British, right? America, I thought. Now! My burst of emotion must have had some effect. The pyramid trembled. Its glass walls shimmered and the top of the structure began to glow. A swirling sand vortex appeared, all right. Only one problem. It was hovering above the very top of the pyramid. Wow. Climb, Bass said. Easy for her. She was a cat. The side is too steep, Carter objected. He's done a good job with the bats. Bro, turn into a fucking bird! He'd done a good job with the bats. Dazed heaps littered the pavement. Damn. But more still flew around us, biting every bit of exposed skin, and the magicians were closing in. I'll toss you, Bass said. Excuse me, Carter protested, but she picked him up by his collar and pants and tossed him up the side of the pyramid. Oh no, don't leave her behind, bro. He skittered to the top in a very undignified manner and slipped straight through the portal. Now you, Sadie, Bass said. Come on. Before I could move, a man's voice yelled, Stop! Stupidly, I froze. The voice was so powerful it was hard not to. The two magicians were approaching. The taller one spoke in perfect English. Surrender, Miss Kane, and return our master's property. Sadie, don't listen, Bass warned. Come here. The cat goddess deceives you, the magician said. She abandoned her post. She endangered us all. She will lead you to ruin. I could tell he meant it. He was absolutely convinced of what he said. I turned to Bass. Her expression had changed. She looked wounded, even grief-stricken. What does he mean? I said. What did you do wrong? We have to leave, she warned, or they will kill us. I looked at the porter. Carter was already through. But that decided it. I wasn't going to be separated from him. As annoying as he was, Carter was the only person I had left. How is that for depressing? Toss me, I said. Bass grabbed me. See you in America. Then she chucked me up the side of the pyramid. I heard the magician roar, "Surrender!" And an explosion rattled the glass next to my head. Then I plunged into the hot vortex of sand. I woke in a small room with industrial carpeting, gray walls, and metal frame windows. I felt as if I were inside a high-tech refrigerator. I sat up groggily and discovered I was coated in cold, wet sand. "Ugh," I said. "Where are we?" Carter and Bass stood by the window. Thank God. Apparently they'd been conscious for a while because they both brushed themselves off. "You've got to see this view," Carter said. I got shakily to my feet and nearly fell down again when I saw how high we were. An entire city spread out below us. I mean, far below, well over 100 meters. I could almost believe we were still in Paris, because a river curved off to our left and the land was mostly flat. There were white government buildings clustered around networks of parks and circular roads, all spread out under a winter sky. I think we're in DC, but the light was wrong. It was still afternoon here, so we must have traveled west. And as my eyes made their way to the other end of a long rectangular green space, I found myself staring at a mansion that looked oddly familiar. "Is that the White House?" Carter nodded. You got us to America, all right. Washington, D.C. But we're sky high," Bass chuckled. "You didn't specify any particular American city, did you?" "Well, no. So you got the default portal for the U.S., the largest single source of Egyptian power in North America." I stared at her uncomprehendingly. "The biggest obelisk ever constructed," she said. "The Washington Monument." Fuck! I had another moment of vertigo and moved away from the window. Carter grabbed my shoulder and helped me sit down. "You should rest," he said. "You passed out for... how long, Bast?" 2 hours and 32 minutes, she said. "I'm sorry, Sadie. Opening more than one portal a day is extremely taxing, even with ISIS helping." Carter frowned. "But we need her to do it again, right? It's not sunset here yet. We can still use portals. Let's open the one and get to Arizona. That's where Set is." Bass pursed her lips. "Sadie can't summon another portal. It would overextend her powers. I don't have the talent. And you, Carter, well, your abilities lie elsewhere. No offense." "Oh no," he grumbled. "I'm sure you'll call me next time you need to boomerang some fruit bats." "Besides," Bass said, "when a portal is used, it needs time to cool down. No one will be able to use the Washington Monument for another 12 hours, Carter cursed. "I forgot about that." Bass nodded, "And by then, the demon days will have begun." "Ooh. So we need another way to Arizona," Carter said. I suppose he didn't mean to make me feel guilty, but I did. I hadn't thought things through, and now we were stuck in Washington. I glanced at Bass out the corner of my eye. I wanted to ask her what the men at the Louvre had meant about her leaving us to ruin, but I was afraid to. I wanted to believe she was on our side. Perhaps if I gave her a chance, she'd volunteer the information. "At least those magicians can't follow us," I prompted. Bass hesitated. "Not through the portal, no, but there are other magicians in America, and worse, Set's minions." My heart climbed into my throat. The House of Life was scary enough, but when I remembered Set and what his minions had done to Amos's house... What about Todd's spell book?" I said. "Did we at least find a way to fight Set?" Carter pointed to the corner of the room. Spread out on Bass's raincoat was Dad's magic toolbox and the blue book we'd stolen from Desjardins. "Maybe we can make sense of it," Carter said. Bass and I couldn't read it. Even Doughboy was stumped. I picked up the book, which was actually a scroll folded into sections. The papyrus was so brittle I was afraid to touch it. Hieroglyphs and illustrations crowded the page, but I couldn't make sense of them. My ability to read the language seemed to be switched off. "ISIS?" I asked. "A little help?" Her voice was silent. Maybe I worn her out, or maybe she was cross with me for not letting her take over my body, the way Horace had asked Carter to do. Selfish of me, I know. I closed the book in frustration. All that work for nothing. "Not now," Bass said. "It's not so bad." "Right," I said. "We're stuck in Washington, D.C. We have 2 days to make it to Arizona and stop a god we don't know how to stop. And if we can't, we'll never see our dad or Amos again, and the world might end." "That's the spirit," Bass said brightly. Now, let's have a picnic. She snapped her fingers. The air shimmered, and a pile of Friskies, cans, and 2 jugs of milk appeared on the carpet. Carter said, can you conjure any people food? That's funny. Bass blinked. Well, no accounting for taste. The air shimmered again. A plate of grilled cheese sandwiches and crisps appeared along with a 6-pack of Coke. Yum, I said. Carter muttered something under her breath. I suppose grilled cheese was his favorite, but he picked up a sandwich. We should leave soon, he said between the bites. I mean, tourists and all. Bass shook her head. The Washington Monument closes at 6 o'clock. The tourists are gone now. We might as well stay the night. If we must travel during the demon days, best to do it in daylight hours. We all must have been exhausted because we didn't talk again until we'd finished our food. I ate 3 sandwiches and drank 2 Cokes. Bass made the whole place smell like fish. Friskies then started licking her hand as if preparing for a cat bath. Could you not do that, I asked. It's disturbing. Oh, she smiled. Sorry. I closed my eyes and leaned against the wall. It felt good to rest, but I realized the room wasn't actually quiet. The entire building seemed to be humming ever so slightly, sending a tremble through my skull that made my teeth buzz. I opened my eyes and sat up. I could still feel it. What is that? I asked. The wind? Magic energy, Bass said. I told you, this is a powerful monument, but it's modern, like the Louvre pyramid. Why is it magic? The ancient Egyptians were excellent builders, Sadie. They picked shapes, obelisks, pyramids that were changed with symbolic magic. An obelisk represents a sunbeam frozen in stone, a life-giving ray from the original king of the gods, Ra. It doesn't matter when the structure was built. It is still Egyptian. That's why any obelisk can be used for opening gates to the duat or releasing great beings of power. Or trapping them, I said. The way you were trapped in Cleopatra's Needle? Her expression darkened. I wasn't exactly trapped in the obelisk. My prison was a magically created abyss deep in the duat, and the obelisk was the door your parents used to release me. But yes, all symbols of Egypt are connected nodes of magic power. So an obelisk can definitely be used to imprison gods. An idea was nagging at the back of my mind, but I couldn't quite pin it down. Something about my mother and Cleopatra's Needle and my father's last promise in the British Museum. I'll put things right. Then I thought back to the Louvre and the comment the magician had made. Bass looked so cross at the moment I was almost afraid to ask, but it was the only way I'd get an answer. The magician said you'd abandon your post. What did he mean? Carter frowned. When was this? I told him what had happened after Bass chucked him through the portal. Bass stacked her empty Frisky cans. She didn't look eager to reply. When I was in prison, she said at last, Hold on. Let me go back. I don't know how we got there. Okay. We're good. When I was in prison, she said at last, I wasn't alone. I was locked inside with a creature of chaos. Is that bad? I asked. Judging from Bass' expression, the answer was yes. Magicians often do this. Lock up a god together with a monster so we have no time to try escaping our prisons. For eons, I fought the monster. When your parents released me, the monster got out? Bass hesitated a little too long for my taste. No, my enemy couldn't have escaped. She took a deep breath. Your mother's final act of magic sealed that gate. The enemy was still inside, but that's what the magician meant. As far as he was concerned, my post was battling that monster forever. It had the ring of truth, as if she were sharing a painful memory, but it didn't explain the other bit the magician had said. She endangered us all. I was getting up the nerve to ask exactly what the monster had been when Bass stood up. I should go scout, she said abruptly. I'll be back. We listened to her footsteps echo down the stairwell. She's hiding something, Carter said. Work that out yourself, did you? I asked. He looked away and immediately I felt bad. I'm sorry, I said. It's just, what are we going to do? Rescue Dad. What else can we do? He picked up the wand and turned it in his fingers. Do you think he really meant to, bring Mom back? I wanted to say yes. More than anything, I wanted to believe that was possible. But I found myself shaking my head. Something about it didn't seem right. Iskandar told me something about Mom, I said. She was a diviner. She could see the future. He said that she made him rethink some old ideas. It was my first chance to tell Carter about my conversation with the old magician, so I gave him the details. Carter knit his eyebrows. You think that has something to do with why Mom died? You saw something in the future? I don't know. I tried to think back to when I was 6, but my memory was frustratingly fuzzy. When they took us to England the last time, did she and Dad seem like they were in a hurry, like they were doing something really important? Definitely. Would you say freeing Bass was really important? I mean, I love her, of course, but worth dying for important? Carter hesitated. Probably not. Well, there you are. I think Dad and Mom were up to something bigger, something they didn't complete. Possibly that's what Dad was after at the British Museum, collecting the task, whatever it was, making things right. And this whole business about our family going back a billion years to some god-hosting pharaohs, why didn't anyone tell us? Why didn't Dad? Carter didn't answer for a long time. Maybe Dad was protecting us, he said. The House of Light doesn't trust our family, especially after what Dad and Mom did. Amos said we were raised apart for a reason, so we wouldn't, trigger each other's magic. Bloody awful reason to keep us apart, I muttered. Carter looked at me strangely, and I realized what I said might have been constructed as a compliment. I just mean they should have been honest, I rushed on. Not that I wanted more time with my annoying brother, of course. Damn. He nodded seriously. Of course. We sat listening to the magic hum of the obelisk. I tried to remember the last time Carter and I had simply spent time together like this, talking. Is your, I tapped the side of my head. Your friend being any help? Not much, he admitted. Yours? I shook my head. Carter, are you scared? A little. He dug his wand into the carpet. No, a lot. I looked at the blue book we'd stolen, pages full of wonderful secrets I couldn't read. What if we can't do it? I don't know, he said. The book about mastering the element of cheese would have been more helpful. On God. Or summoning fruit bats. Please, not fruit bats. On God. We shared a weary smile, and it felt rather good, but it changed nothing. We were still in serious trouble with no clear plan. Why don't you sleep on it, he suggested. You used a lot of energy today. I'll keep watch until Bass gets back. He actually sounded concerned for me. How cute. I didn't want to sleep. I didn't want to miss anything. But I realized my eyelids were incredibly heavy. All right then, I said. Don't let the bed bugs bite. I lay down to sleep, but my soul, my ba, had other ideas. That was cute. Cause they don't say goodnight to each other since they were living together. That's cute. What page are we on? I think 247. Damn. Not bad. Okay. We're gonna read chapter 20. I visit the Star-Spangled Goddess. And we will continue Sadie's perspective. I forget that we're in Sadie's perspective. I was reading some of the lines like I was Carter. I'm gonna go get another drink. That's crazy. 200, almost 250 pages through the book. And I'm not even halfway. That's the glossary. Damn, this book is long, dog. I'll be back. You know what I want? I want them to beat Seth in this book. To be honest. And then I want to move on to a different battle in book 2 and 3. I don't know if I want to read a Seth trilogy. Because we already got Chronicles and Percy Jackson through 5 of them. And what, we're going to see a new big bad in the universe with another 3 books. I don't know if I want to read that. I'll be back. I'm going to use the restroom. Follow, like, comment, share. Check out my live. I'm going to use the restroom. So I'm actually going to end this. But I'm going to come back to it. And I'm going to start a new live recording. So thanks for everyone.